Hello, this is Jessie. I'm
Hello.
here with Hadea. Hi, Hadea, at the Bridging Frequencies Beyond FSM podcast. And I'm so excited to announce and introduce Headea Fisher. She is a longtime friend of mine and was a practitioner when I lived back in Washington State. She is an acupuncturist and happiness coach. She has her master's of science in acupuncture and oriental medicine. She also is an all-around healer with various modalities that she brings in. And I am just so excited to chat with Hadea today because my personal experience with Hadea is every conversation I've probably ever had with her has been inspiring and heart-opening and just really fantastic. And in this podcast, we're talking about how practitioners can enhance our outcomes with our clients and patients. And Hadea blends acupuncture with her incredible coaching skills and does a lot beyond potentially what just doing acupuncture would do. And so I'm so excited to hear what you have to say, Hadea, today in our conversation about integrating sort of all of you into what you offer to clients. And so, welcome.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm always happy to have a conversation with you. I think that's a good point to make about integrating. My goal in life is for there not that for there to be no boundaries between the version of me at home and the version of me that's here, which doesn't mean that I don't have personal boundaries, but I don't want to check part of me at the door.
Mm.
I want all of me to show up at work. And so I've shifted my work such that that happens. And in exchange, I love every minute I have with my clients. I limit my hours so I don't overextend myself. And I'm very clear about my yeses and my nos. But when I am there, I am completely there. And I think that's a phenomenal gift to give to anybody, even people you run into on the street. Have all of you there. If I did nothing else but that, I'm sure I would be helpful.
Amazing. I really want to revisit this concept of checking part of you at the door. We're trained to do that in medical
Mhm.
school. Yeah, we're trained
Yes.
to that is a part of the job. So what brought you to that shift in how you show up for patients and clients?
I don't know if you recall, I had like a really strong, did I know you at that point? I don't know. I had sort of like this adrenal exhaustion happen the first maybe 5 years, 4 years into my clinic when it was really starting to rip.
Mm.
And I was seeing 6 people an hour. I do community style, which means I treat multiple people an hour. While one person's comfy in a recliner, I work on the next person. No distrobing. It's pretty lovely. But I was really, I thought bigger, better, right? So I was just doing more and more and more. Um, and I was not grounded and I was not well. And I realized that I was trying very hard to be a version of an acupuncturist that was not me. They
Mm.
were very professional. They were very intellectual. I was sort of modeling myself after my first acupuncturist, who at that point was also my business partner. Um, and I was also sort of modeling myself after my partner at the time, like get shit done, have your profit and loss statement, like very mental. And it was way too much. And I ended up with adrenal exhaustion and had to work my way back up. And I realized at some point in time in working my way back up that I was impactful without being highly intellectual. In fact, I was more impactful and people enjoyed it more and I was more sustained. And so I've sort of stayed there. If I feel myself efforting or trying to figure out mental details, I'm usually missing the point.
Mm.
So I just make my work a little bit easier for me, a little bit more relaxed. I let the people know that are coming in to see me that I'm just their neighbor and I'm happy to help them. and I have some knowledge in a different realm, but they're the person in charge of their well-being. They know more than I do, and I am happy to assist them.
I feel like that also, that point is also a deviation from how we're trained, right?
Yeah.
That that you don't know more than they do, but you're happy to assist them. Um, there's a couple of things. I also want to circle back to this community model because I think that's fantastic to talk about, but we'll bookmark that. And can we go into what you just mentioned and how you, I guess, convey that or sh
Yeah.
show up in that way?
So when I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I have been since I was 7, and I've had a lot of opportunities to interact with doctors who thought they knew more than I did. But nobody is textbook within a disease or a condition. There's no standardized anything. And I knew from early on that exercise made my blood sugar go up, even though the doctors told me that's not how it works. I mean, they also told me that I'd have complications. And I've been a diabetic for 34 years. I have no complications. And I did not take excellent care of myself. There's no reason for me to be as well as I am, except I think there is. But it was not by following their advice. It was by listening to my body. So when I'm talking to somebody, I want to know what they think their body is saying. And often they don't get asked that question. And in just asking the question, you can see them go, oh, like I was having a conversation today with a man who just had he had a resection of his colon done. He's got colon cancer, and his wife really wanted somebody to come in to see him at the hospital. And hospitals aren't always cool with that. And I said, well, how about this? You're my friend, which he is now. I said, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to meditate with you. And while I'm there, I happen to have tools on board that I can work with, meaning acupuncture. And he was fine with that. Now we're having this conversation, and he's talking about how he has stage 2 bowel cancer or colon cancer. And he put it together. Now, I'm sure this isn't the first time that he's put this together, but he's saying it to me that he has insomnia too. And when the symptoms occurred that led to the diagnosis, he had this crazy insomnia and difficulty with his digestion. And I got it before he said it because I'm listening to him, not to myself. I'm not going, okay, well, this means this, and this is the Zong Fu diagnosis of that, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm listening. And what I'm hearing is he mentioned that his insomnia is a type where he can't relax. It's not exactly anxiety, which he has PTSD that everybody else has been saying, well, it's just anxiety. He's like, no, it's not quite that. I said, it's because you can't let go into relaxation. He's like, that's it. He's like, and that's the same thing. And I said, that affects your bowels. He's like, yes, that's it. I'm like, there you go. So who knows where I was going with that originally, but I could always circle back to something great. There's a listening that happens when you just accept that the person in front of you knows more about themselves than you do. And then you come to all these epiphanies. And with just the recognition that I understood where he was, he relaxed. That was half of what I did there. And I did some Reiki and I did some acupuncture, and he felt amazing. But I think that was probably the majority of it. Of course, that's where you are. That makes perfect sense that that's where you are. And I can work on that. That's what I specialize in. So yeah, that's how I interact with the clients.
Amazing. I love that so much. And it just is reminiscent of Dr. Carol McMakin, who trains practitioners in FSM. And she says, if you listen well enough, your patient will tell you
Yeah.
what frequencies to use.
Yes.
And sometimes it comes in unexpected ways, and often it's not, the diagnosis route. It's like this sort of like off the
Yes.
out of left field concept. But if you don't dismiss it and if you actually follow it, that's often, in my experience, what has gotten us to the resolution of the problem. And yeah, just as you're saying, it's not the diagnosed medically do.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just this is coming in right now just to mention it's like this is what where exceptional practitioners will never be replaced by
Yeah.
AI, right? Because I don't know if you do too, I've got people coming in and they're like, I asked ChatGPT what I need to do for
Mhm.
this, and they have ideas and it's great. It's a resource, but
Yeah.
it's never going to be able to be present
Mm-mm.
with that process that's organic, I think.
Yeah.
Connection.
I think it's an interesting tool. I use it all the time when I'm trying to remember what straight catheterization is, like,
Sure.
because I very strongly have no desire to keep all of the knowledge in my head. Not going to do that. That's what I have books for. And that's what I use Perplexity to
Mhm.
AI. I love it. And I've checked it to ask questions that I know the answer to. And it's fairly right. I'm not going to make a massive decision based off of it, but I'll use it to refresh my memory on something. And
Sure.
I think that's lovely. It can, because it can pull from so many different articles and studies, I can use it in a way that would typically take me hours of research. And again, I don't want to be up in my head. I want to be out there with the clients.
Beautiful. How do you how do you stay out of your head?
I know what it feels like when I'm in my head and I don't particularly like it. So I know the difference between feeling good or the way I put it is efforting versus allowing. Um, and I can tell very quickly if I'm efforting or
Mm,
allowing.
mm,
And then I just pivot. Okay, here I'm efforting again. And sometimes the best I can do to get out of efforting is to go, today's a day where I can tell that my momentum is going to be more in the effort factor. So I'm just going to fall back on three of my favorite protocols and leave it at that. And just telling myself it's okay to be wherever I am, boom, I'm back into allowing. And then I'm back connected with my own inspiration. And then I have a great idea. The other way I get out of it, and this is the same thing, is if I have a rough moment, like not that this happens, but um, somebody honks at me while I'm driving because I don't know, I'm, I'm not paying great attention, whatever it is. I'm not driving the way they want me to drive. And then I feel bad. I'm like, oh crap. I should have been paying more attention, or I shouldn't have been picking a different radio station, whatever. The best thing I can do to get out of that sense of, oh, I should have, that should feeling, which is a lot, very, very much related to the efforting, is I go do something kind for a stranger. I compliment somebody, or I let somebody in traffic, or I wave at somebody, something. And I always come right back to myself because at the core of me, I'm a helper. And I know that if I do that, I absolve myself of all the shoulds and all of the efforting, and I'm back to being totally powerful.
mm. Amazing. That sounds like a very, very useful and also just generative way of getting back. So that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I'm I'm curious to ask, or just to like share this model with the greater community, the community acupuncture
Mm-hmm.
model. I'll just share, I came to your clinic, you were my first acupuncturist, and I assumed this is how acupuncture is everywhere. And I
Yeah.
haven't found a clinic as amazing as yours in all the places I've been. And there's something so special about making it more accessible financially for people because when
Mm-hmm.
you go more, you get greater benefit. But also, just I think like what's different about the space you hold is the space you hold, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
an undefinable energetic quality, and just who you are when people walk in the door and when they receive your care that is remarkable. And so I was hoping, yeah, you could speak a little bit more about what is the community acupuncture model, and maybe how even that model is different at your
Mm-hmm.
facility, because I do think you kind of go beyond.
So I wish I could remember the year that it was started. I'm going to guess. It was started in Portland at Working Class Acupuncture. I don't know, maybe 2005, somewhere around there. I graduated in 2008, started my community style clinic in like 2010. And I knew it was a thing before I graduated. So basically, most acupuncturists see one client for 1 hour in a room, and they end up having to charge for their entire time for that. And there's a lot of modalities that an acupuncturist can use, cupping and herbs, types of massage. There's all sorts of things we're trying to do. And that's lovely. And we really need those people out there. However, when you only see one client an hour and you want to have a living wage, you have to charge a fair amount. So these days, and I'm in sort of a rural-ish area, that fee would be like 120 for an acupuncture session, maybe 150 for your first and 90 for follow-up. Well, community acupuncture does almost exclusively acupuncture. I think the way it started was just acupuncture. And you see a new client every 15 minutes. So you get somebody started quick, all the chatting chairside, get them comfortable, move on to the next person, move on to the next person, move. It's like waiting tables. Come back to the first person when they're done. They raise their hand, they say that they're ready, and out they go, and you just go, 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 go. So you get a lot more people in. And the rates, the original rate was, I think it was like 15 to 35 for years and years and years. And people got to pick in that range what they could afford to pay. It's meant to be very easy, very affordable, not time intensive for the practitioner. In my experience, it also meant it was hard to have good connections or to make progress understanding where the client was. And also I'm burnt out doing that because I live off of, oh, that's not true. That's a weird way to put that. I really enjoy being connected to my clients. So I want to know how their dog is doing. So I want a little bit more time with them. So I went from doing 6 people an hour. I had 6 recliners, 2 massage tables, and I had other people working for me too. And it was buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. And that's about the time you came in. And now I see 3 people an hour every 20 minutes versus every 10 minutes was how often I had been doing it. It's just me. I have 5 chairs and 2 massage tables, depending upon what people need and who comes in. It's nice to have a few extras so people can linger longer. And people usually stay up to an hour, between a half hour and an hour, and then off they go. I have more time to get to know people, more time to do other modalities. I do a little bit more propping. So if somebody's coming in for hip pain, I can prop their legs up, get their legs wrapped so that as they're relaxing, they can really, truly relax without accidentally injuring themselves. So that's the way I do it that is different. And I charge more. I charge 45 to 60, and people pick what they want to pay in that realm.
And I would also assert that you do more in how you interact with people from a coaching perspective. Like,
Yeah.
and that is a whole other piece of what you offer, right? So you're offering the acupuncture community style kind of tweaked, and you also are a happiness coach. And I imagine that those things bleed together quite a bit, at least in my experience when I did acupuncture with you. It was, I mean, you were, and this was the buzzing time where there was like a lot
Yeah.
happening, a lot of people, but there was always this sense of, and you mentioned this, like you want to know how the person's dog is, but it was like very deep connection in the process of the acupuncture. So can you speak a little bit about how the coaching aspect of what you do shows up in the acupuncture?
So sometimes and this has always been the case, even when I run into strangers, I'll get strong inclinations about something to say to them. And it's usually lovely. Sometimes it's ridiculous. But it tends to light people up. It shifts something for them. I can tell this person really needs to know something. For a while there, I did this little thing where I wrote out a bunch of sticky notes that said lovely things on them, and I would just hand them out or stick them places. I pulled up next to a cop once. I don't know what they were doing, parked where they were. And They rolled down the window to look at me, and I handed them a sticky note that said, "I'm proud of you."
Oh, whoa.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? But I decided early on that I was going to listen to that voice.
Mm,
Now, I don't go giving people strong medical advice. I'm not telling people to cut out the medications they're taking. I might suggest, sometimes I'll suggest to somebody, hey, you should look in to see if any of the medications you're on are causing such and such.
mm,
But usually that's not the type of inspiration I have.
mm,
So sometimes when I'm with a client and they are in the vicinity of themselves, not too disconnected,
mm,
I'll get a lot. So that's what happens whenever you and I are together. I get a lot
mm,
off of having either on the phone or in person. Just
mm,
I get a lot of information,
mm,
and so I'll share it. And usually it's a question I ask or something that shifts the way they look at something. And this happened often enough that I decided I should probably just be trained to be a coach. And I went through training with Laura Levine, who's phenomenal. She's been my coach for years. And I started doing coaching on the side. So if I had a client that I could tell was really interested in what I was saying or was getting a lot of information, and I knew that that was somebody that I could easily have a conversation with, like they're not the type of people that are scared by somebody having intuitive hits on them,
sure.
then I'd invite them. I'd say, if you would like to, we could sit down. I do this on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are the days where I set aside for doing one-on-one work. And sometimes that involves acupuncture, but often involves coaching. If you're interested, here I am. Um, so what often happens is I have clients that I'm working with. I'm asking them questions in the 20 minutes we have. They're having a moment, and often they go, "That's what I want. I mean, the acupuncture is great, but that's what I want." I'm like, "All right, that sounds great. I'll see you on Tuesday." And I have a handful of clients. I'm very picky about the clients I take. My preference is they come either they're already clients of mine or they come from a source I trust, like somebody like you, like somebody who I suppose it's not necessarily true because I've only ever had the best clients. I never have in all realms, acupuncture and coaching and Reiki. I only get the best clients. So I don't really even need a caveat there. But if I were to come across somebody that I didn't jive with, I would just say, I'm booked. Because nobody gets to see what my schedule is. I have to do it. I'm so sorry I can't. But I love that too. That's really really satisfying for me because I'm very, very good at seeing what's right behind you that you're not quite noticing. I'm like, okay, come here just a little bit. Now, what if you are more concerned about being right than being happy? What? Like, well, it's just maybe that's true, maybe that isn't, like, or just letting people know that it's really reasonable to be where they are. And also they have some other tools that they don't see. Oh, it's wonderful work. It's like a puzzle that I'm doing with somebody else, and the satisfaction that they get out of understanding themselves better is so great.
Hmm, so cool. It's very clear that that is what so lights you up, and you're very skilled at it. And a question, I guess, that percolated up that I think maybe some practitioners might be interested in hearing you speak to is um, how often or in what ways do you find that a physical ailment or concern or pain or whatever that someone comes in with is related to something more on something that you can address more effectively, perhaps from coaching? Does that question make sense?
Yes, that question makes sense. Actually, I'd say it's not as often as you might expect because not everybody is interested in feeling good. A lot of people are more interested in feeling right. I know that's not exactly your question. I'm going to answer your question in a way you didn't quite ask it. And that is I think this is a personal belief, and I totally understand that not everybody believes this, and that's fine because we all get to have our own experiences. I really think that every problem we experience is because we are disconnected from ourselves. And I think that we all need tools that we can go to soften our resistance from ourselves such that our natural state of healing can take back over again. Our society asks us to be concerned. If you are not concerned, you are not informed. If you are not informed, you are a threat. That's so wrong. I do not believe that. Um, and it is encouraged to complain. And I don't mean like tell your practitioner what you want to work on. I mean like for chit chat, that's what we do. We complain about the traffic or the weather or politics. This is just what we do. And that really holds us down. And if you do that often enough, you end up with dis-ease in your body. But I don't believe that dis-ease is the natural state any more than I believe that if you can flip a switch, that inky darkness will fill the room. I think light is the natural state of things. I think well-being is the natural state of things. My job as an acupuncturist for most of my clients, or as a coach for some of my clients, or for any stranger I walk into, I meet up with, I see, is to help them relax a little, come back to themselves a little. And there are a million different modalities you can do that with. But my only goal is to get people to relax enough to remember that it's okay to feel good and that their natural state is well-being. I don't know if that answers your question. I know it answers a question.
I love it. It's a great concept. It reminds me of a spiritual teaching from like a teacher that is the happiness is the natural state. You don't have
Yes.
to try. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the things that are not resonant with that are just what we have to let go of. It's just a
Yeah.
letting go. And it kind of goes back to your original case you were sharing with the man in the
Yes.
hospital. It's like the letting go is the key to kind of coming back to the
Yes.
natural state of alignment or homeostasis or happiness or whatever we're calling that.
When I left him, the last thing I told him was, and I told him this is just my belief. I said, you don't need to be rid of disease in order to be well. Well-being is an in-the-moment experience that happens either naturally when you're not focused on disease, or when you help yourself to the satisfaction of a song that's amazing, or a passage in a book, or running into somebody, a friend in the grocery store. That light, that's well-being. And when you are there, your entire body, cells included, are perfectly well.
Hmm.
We just don't happen to intentionally savor those moments. We don't use our imagination enough. Imagination is a phenomenal way. It's my favorite way to help myself to more well-being. Because the more I can savor something, either imagined or a memory or something I'm anticipating, the more alive and well I am. And I think that is why, although I've been diabetic for 34 years, I don't have any complications. I think that is why I am happier and better looking now than I was 20 years ago. It's because I choose to help myself to all the tiny moments of, well, not all, a lot of the lovely moments that I come across in my day. I just harvest them. I don't wait for something magnificent to happen in my life. I don't wait for debts to be paid or rain to stop. I choose it now because nobody else is choosing that for me. Nobody's going to show up and go, here you go, here's your satisfaction. And you know that's true because you've had people come up to you who offered you something or say somebody wants to give you a hug and you're like, I don't, no, that's not where I am. That's not what I want. It does not have anything to do with the external circumstances. It has everything to do with your readiness, which has everything to do with your desire to feel good. If your intention is to feel good, you're going to notice the moments that you can help yourself to that will help you feel good. Doesn't mean you're always there. And also, let me keep going here. Satisfaction does not come from everything being great. It comes from things sort of sucking sometimes, and then you coming back into alignment yourself, and that the sheer relief of unkinking that hose and going, oh yes, I forgot, I'm not a human being, or I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. I'm here to enjoy my life. I am here to have a conversation with a stranger, or to take the scenic route, or to love on my dog. Like, this is what I'm here for. And it is absolutely okay that it rains or that I have debt, because those things are not permanent either.
Mm.
And I have access to well being if I so choose to put it on my plate. And I choose to do that.
Beautiful. I love that so much. I think there's so much to be gleaned from that perspective in healing. There's two things. One that you mentioned that I just found to be interesting, like noticing when a client or a patient is more interested than being right or being sick than being well.
Yes.
And I guess I don't know if I have a question around that. I guess the question around that is, what do you do with that? What do you do with that when someone's showing up to you? Well, I guess um I'll like some experience I've had and then ask.
Mm-hmm.
So clients who have tried everything, will do whatever it takes to get better, but somehow their stuckness isn't even in their tissues, in my experience. It's really more in their orientation to life, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but if they're not, let's say they're not ready to like do a coaching session with you, how do you work with that type of a person in your practice?
Typically, they don't show up, but some of them do. And sometimes they'll come multiple times and then they'll just be done. I can tell if it's that type of person because I feel pulled to effort more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember, okay, I don't have any power in efforting. I'm going to sit back. I'm
Mm,
going to do something that I'm going to pick a protocol of points that helps them ground themselves. Because when you're grounded, then you get your power again. And
mm,
then it's sort of like, it's like turning the computer off again, turning it back on. Okay, now it can function properly. We'll do that a couple of times. And if that doesn't shift anything, then I let them just stop coming in, which they naturally will. But I don't move myself for them. I don't go, well, let me throw five more things at it. I continue to listen to my gut and I let it be absolutely okay that they suffer for as long as they suffer, because that is okay.
mm.
If you, by chance, are not afraid of death, uh, and if you, by chance, think it's going to be amazing on the other side too, then it really becomes okay. This is a little blip in our experience, and it's totally fine to be, you know, really cold for a while, because then you're going to be so much more satisfied when you come in from the cold. And I think some people, that's what they're doing. They're amping up their readiness for satisfaction by doing some cold exposure. That's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't need to fix anything. Nobody needs me to fix anything. And if all else, I just am a good representation of somebody that's okay and well as things are, even in the face of disease.
Thank you. Awesome. Fantastic. As a final, at least question for me, and then we'll leave a little time if there's anything else you're really wanting to share and talk about. We could talk for 5 hours, I feel, but um, hmm, I'm interested in this concept really because it's showing up in my practice and I'm questioning it in my own practice where I am applying a treatment modality to a patient who is like wanting support, wanting to heal, wanting to get rid of their pain, and and there's a part of me that's really kind of questioning this delivery of a modality in sort of a passive way. And so I would imagine, like in an acupuncture setting, someone's coming in, resting in a chair, getting needles put in, and potentially, and I feel like probably this doesn't happen a lot for you in the way you interface with people, but like outsourcing their power
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
the needles getting put in, or
Mhm.
for me, the frequencies running, or the
Yes.
massage be,
Yeah.
that if something like, oh, my neck went out again, I gotta go see my chiropractor for like the 5 millionth time. And it's almost like this cycle that people are in of what I would call like outsourcing their
Yeah.
power to the modality or the intervention. And I'm wondering what you would have to say about that.
I do think that there are people that are constantly looking for the next thing that might fix them.
Mhm.
And the problem with that is the erroneous belief that you need to be fixed versus that you are naturally well. But so be it. Most people are there. That's okay. Not everybody has to be aware of their natural state of well-being. They'll get their natural well-being will take over one way or another eventually. They can only pinch themselves off from it for so long. Um, I think I think what you do and what I do, while they are tools, external tools for clients, they are the path of least resistance to coming back to themselves. Most of the people that come in to see me are inspired to do so. And I'm not taking some survey here to know exactly what inclination they had. Yes, they're in pain, or yes, they're in distress. Primarily, they have a desire to feel better, and they're, I don't know what to do. And somebody happens to tell them about Hadea. You should go see Hadea. She did such and such for me. It was great. So stars align and they come in. I believe just because we don't, just because we have the capacity to be well doesn't mean that we can't really enjoy lining up with a practitioner that sees us as whole or that is ready to deliver exactly what we need. It's just the next step. And that is great, and that is necessary, and that is how it works. In the same way that we don't need a partner in order to feel really good in ourselves. But you know what feels really great? Having a partner, even though it comes with difficulty. It doesn't have to be either or. I do think as a society, we do not recognize that we have our own ability to feed our well-being. Yes, that's not widely known, but uh, it doesn't matter because our own internal guidance will always lead us to the path of least resistance. The next easiest step to it's like a mama bird calling the baby birds. She will just keep calling until they come home. Or I guess if she leaves the nest and she's trying to get them fly, she will just keep calling. Our inner being will just keep calling us. And we are steps along that path. Delicious, enjoyable, satisfying for us, satisfying for them. And so is therapy, which I'm not really a huge fan of. Like that's because that's not on my path. That's not in front of me. But it has been in the past. There's so many different routes up the mountain. And each modality, each practitioner is that for somebody. And we just get to be what we are. So if all else fails, make your practice as satisfying as possible, make it fit you as best you can, and then just watch who comes in. Because if you do that, best people will come in.
Thank you. So good. I am imagining that many people listening would be interested in learning more about you and your coaching program and what you do. And so, would you just share how people can learn more about coaching and acupuncture with Hadea?
Well, if you're going to get acupuncture with me, you have to be in Skagit County, Washington. I'm here. You can come find me at Skagit Community Acupuncture. If you want to do coaching with me, and there might be a couple people in here And your gut will tell you, because if you're, I am not the right fit for everybody. That's the way it's supposed to be. But if your gut's like, this is a hair blowing back experience, I have goosebumps, and I want to talk to this lady, go to HadeaFisher.com. That's HadeaFisher.com. And then contact me through there. We can talk about it. I did want to say one more thing to you, Jessie, that occurred to me as I was journaling this morning. Right before I did yoga with you for the first time, not right before, for maybe a year prior, I'd been having this back pain. And I'd been doing acupuncture for it and it wouldn't go away. And it sort of overlapped with some of my adrenal stuff. It just didn't feel quite like pain. It felt like there was an emptiness in my back. Like it just would not get comfortable. I was constantly trying to put pillows to be, would go on these road trips that were uncomfortable. Like I just couldn't get comfortable on the couch. Now, all in all, in my life, there were some things that I was not addressing. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. I was doing a lot of efforting, trying to conform. And I started doing yoga with you. You were the first yoga instructor I had as an adult. I did some as a kid. And I gave myself 5 sessions. I'm like, in 5 sessions, I'm going to give it 5 sessions, and hopefully my back will feel better. My back stopped hurting that first evening. While I was on the mat, I had come back into my body in a way I had never come into my body as an adult. And I felt really at peace with myself. And I remember it all came to a head when you were adjusting my neck and my occiput the way you do. And I just had tears streaming down my face onto my mat. And I was like, oh, this is what it's like to be okay. Oh, yes, this is what it's like to be okay. And the pain didn't come back. One time, my well-being was so close to the surface, and you gave me an excuse to be okay. The way you moved, the way you told us to move, the way that you were accepting of all of us gave me permission to believe that it was okay for me to be exactly how I was. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody to tell me that it was okay to be in this moment, comfortable in my body. So that's it. That's the gift you gave me.
Thank you. It's wonderful to receive that. And that's a beautiful, I just love this. You were so ready to be okay. And the intervention, the experience of connection with someone who's like, it's okay. What got you there? And
Yeah.
we need that. That's why we're communal beings.
The
And
solution to a problem is not the size of the problem.
mm,
It's tiny. It's
mm,
tiny and it's wonderful and it's lovely and it's just the smile on somebody else's face.
mm.
It's right there. And if you choose to open that door again and again and again, oh, miracles can happen.
Awesome. Beautiful. Oh, thank you, Hadea. This has been
Thank
really
you.
delicious. A delicious conversation that maybe we'll have another delicious
Mm-hmm.
conversation in the
Anytime.
future. Thank you so much. And we'll put your website and contact information in the notes of this video. And thank you so, so much for joining me today and all of your wisdom. Um, and I hope to see you again.
Thanks, Jessie.